Hello, I'm Denise Kidder, and I'm the Education Coordinator for Friends of the Caw. As part of the education team, I'm here to present to you your Caw Minute, and today's topic will be a mini study of macroinvertebrates. So when we want to evaluate the quality of the water at a particular site, we conduct a series of chemical and non-chemical tests. One of the indicators of water quality is the presence of these little critters that we call macroinvertebrates. Now, macro means it's large enough to be seen with your own eyes. You don't need a microscope. Some can be quite small, however, so using a hand lens or a magnifier can help you identify them a bit easier. Invertebrate, well, you already know what that means. They don't have a backbone. They are spineless creatures. Many of these organisms live at the bottom of a stream or a substrate, so we call them bottom dwellers. A term that you may have heard before is benthic macroinvertebrate. Some examples are the insects, worms, snails, and clams. So why do we collect these macroinvertebrates? Well, the chemical tests that we perform on the water are limited because they only tell us what's in the water at that specific moment. It doesn't tell us what the water was like an hour ago, or yesterday, or last week. The macroinvertebrates are surrounded by water, and they've been there a bit. So if the pollutants were in the water last week, or even yesterday, the quantity and the diversity of the macros could change. So one way of determining the status of the water's living systems is through a biological assessment. The macroinvertebrates are valuable indicators of the health of a particular body of water because, well, they're found at the bottom of a creek, stream, river, or lake. They do not move long distances, so they can't just pack up and leave if their surroundings become unpleasant. They represent links in the food chain as recyclers of nutrients and food for fish. And different species of macros react differently to certain environmental stressors, including pollution, sediment loading, and changes in habitat. So macroinvertebrates, or macros for short, are put into categories based on a specific set of requirements which the stream must provide for the organisms to survive. So some are intolerant to pollution, and their presence suggests a healthy stream or body of water, and we like it when we find these macros. The second category are those that are somewhat sensitive to pollution. Many of these will be our insects, and they can survive in good and fair quality water. And the third category are those that are very pollution tolerant. Now, these critters can live in water that is considered good, fair, or poor. Pictured here are a few examples of some macroinvertebrates. You'll see the insects, including beetles, stoneflies, and mayflies, the crustaceans, including the crayfish, the crabs, the shrimp, and the third group that we have not discussed much are the arachnids. Now, you're used to seeing them on land, but they are frequently found in the water as well. You may see them scurrying across the top of the water. So what are some of the habitats? Well, when we visit a stream or a creek and we set up our stations to do our water testing, we always look for places where we can find the macroinvertebrates. Where are they hiding? Well, we find them in riffles, runs, pools, and glides. All of these are habitats for the macros, and they are provided with food and shelter here. So if you look at the bottom picture, you'll see a drawing of each example. The riffles are where we find the most diversity. Here is where the macros can get more oxygen, and often this is where we find the ones that are pollution sensitive. The macros also play a role in the whole food chain process. Yes, there is even a hierarchy among these little small animals. Some are food for consumers, like fish and birds, amphibians, reptiles, and yes, even other macroinvertebrates. Some are herbivores and they feed on plants and algae, which is very helpful. Some are carnivores, and we may think of them like predators, and they feed on macros, small fish, and amphibians. Yes, small fish, hard to believe. Then there's another type that we call our little decomposers. These critters feed on dead organic matter like plants. So in summary, the macroinvertebrates are very valuable indicators of the health of an aquatic environment. Collecting them, correctly identifying them, and counting them are all important steps in the bioassessment. The absence of these organisms may be one indication that the water quality is poor, but a series of water quality tests should be taken to determine the overall condition of a water site on multiple occasions, not just one visit. So, for a little preview, the next Calm Minute will be a continuation of our mini study about macroinvertebrates. You'll get to see some live clips of actual macros found at a nearby pond and creek. You'll learn a little bit about their life as a nymph or a larva, and then an adult. Here is a little preview to spark your interest. Now, enjoy some time outdoors, and we hope to see you back here soon. Hey, darling.